large red brick building coming into view on the right-hand side as we begin to exit our East Strasburg yard is our old car shop. All of our restoration of our equipment does occur on site here at the Strasburg Railroad within that our car shop itself. We're very proud of the work we do here, and it's all accomplished with the funds from that ticket you purchased back at our East Strasburg station. Each one of these cars is accurate to the time period of 1910 to 1930. And within the cars is fully functional equipment, including the lights over your head and those pot-belly coal stoves that are our source of heat in the cold riding months. If you don't believe me, we'll come back in November or December, ride a Christmas train here, and you'll see just how well those little stoves do of keeping these cars nice and comfortable. Today is one of the oldest railroad right-of-ways in the entire world. It was given to the Strasburg Railroad Company by an act of the Pennsylvania legislature way back on June 9th of 1832. That means our railroad has been serving the community of Strasburg for well over a century and a half. This is definitely not an enterprise that sprang up overnight. Many generations of passengers have boarded our coaches before you folks joined us here today. Strasburg Railroad is one of the oldest public utilities in all of Pennsylvania. It's also the oldest railroad in continuous operation on the entire continent of North America. Our railroad is owned by a group of local stockholders, and it was back in 1958 when 24 dedicated railroad buses came out of only one president and 23 vice presidents. All donated much time, much money, and much effort. Whereas for some railroads, for future generations like us to enjoy. Much as we love our city railroad and here at the Strasburg Railroad, our other passengers might just outside the windows and all of us are proud to see and join them. In an effort to really become one we get to enjoy today, the Strasburg Railroad has teamed up with the Lancaster Farmland Trust. That simply means that a portion of every ticket sold at our station does go towards the preservation of the farmland just outside your windows. Throughout the course of our 9-mile, 45-minute round-trip journey this morning, we'll be traveling past 20 working Amish and Mennonite farms, some of the most beautiful and productive lands in all of Pennsylvania. Long gray buildings off to the running left-hand side over top of those tall corn stalks make up the Espenshade Turkey Farm, the oldest known turkey farm in America. This turkey farm is a very busy place, and you may have guessed it, November and December is a particularly bad time to be a turkey on this particular farm. Espenshade Crossing will be next. Espenshade. This area of Lancaster County was settled in the very early 1700s. Route 741, the roadway you took to get to our East Strasburg station, was originally a Conestoga wagon trail opened right around 1710. Just up ahead, off to our running right, after it passed through this little plot of land we like to call a ground called Cut, you'll be able to notice an old stone farmhouse off to the running right-hand side. does have some red shutters on it, so it may be a little easier for you to spot. The stone portion of this farmhouse was built in 1774 and was originally the home of Cornelius Faree, a wheelwright and Conestoga wagon maker. Settlers heading west could stop here to buy Conestoga wagons, Pennsylvania long rifles, and other provisions all produced in this immediate area. That old stone farmhouse still stands today, but now it's part of the Cherry Crest Adventure Farm, a local attraction that will very shortly border our tracks on both sides of the train. The Cherry Crest Adventure Farm is home to more than 60 farm fun activities for the entire family to enjoy, but they're most well known for the amazing maze corn maze. A 5-acre corn maze that'll be off to our running right-hand side in just a minute. The Cherry Crest Adventure Farm is not owned or operated by the Strasburg Railroad, but does provide another example of how local farmers are adapting their farms in the face of ever-increasing developmental pressures. When our picnic areas are in operation, you can get off at our picnic road and walk down here to Cherry Crest Adventure Farm, spend the day here, pick up a later train ride back to our station. Now, unfortunately, due to some of the local restrictions at this time, our picnic rows are not open, so getting off the train and going to Cherry Crest is not an option at this point, but you can drive there. Just go down 741, make a left on the Cherry Hill Road, and it'll take you right to the Cherry Crest Adventure Farm. After we get to the Cherry Hill Crossing, the Rossboro picnic area again closed, but this time we'll be off to your running left-hand side. Do keep this spot in mind should you come visit us later on in the riding season. Maybe and hopefully that picnic road will be open. About the 2 o'clock position in the direction we are traveling down in that valley is a large white farm with a blue and silver silo standing next to it. Typical Lancaster County Amish farm, very neat, very clean, but yes folks, also very plain. Inside that farm, there are no carpets, curtains, electric lights, no radios, televisions, telephones, automobiles, cell phones, or a car in the garage. The farmer here drives a buggy. There are plenty of big workhorses, mules, and willing hands to help with the hard work of farming. In addition to dairy cattle, the produce consists of corn, wheat, rye, hay, barley, soybeans, alfalfa, and famous Lancaster County broadleaf tobacco. These are a very peaceful and prosperous people, contributing greatly to the agricultural economy here in Lancaster County. We are very proud to have them as our neighbors. In the foreground between that large farm and our tracks, you may be able to spot a little tan building. That's a one-room Amish schoolhouse for the local Amish children. It contains grades 1 through 8 with only one teacher for all 8 of those grades. Now, like some of our riders here today, those students are off for the summer, but they're not enjoying a nice train ride. No, they're probably at home helping their parents with the hard work of farming. Attention all children on board. Do you believe in ghosts? Well, if you don't yet, you will in just a minute. The second valley off to our right, the late 1800s, early 1900s, used to run an arrow gauge railroad known as the Lancaster, Oxford, and Southern. The locals affectionately knew that line as the LONS, or the Little, Old, and Slow. With a nickname like that, it's not a surprise it didn't last very long. Legend has it, scrappers came in, ripped up the rails so quickly, they stranded engine number 6 out on the hillside with no engine house to which it could return. For years of wind, rain, and other weather rusted that engine away, and it became nothing more than the ghost of an old train. The Very shortly, we'll come to a stop here just before Carpenter's Crossing. Sound off engine number 475 across that valley. Sometimes, if we're lucky, you'll hear the ghost of LONS engine number 6 answer us back. So get very quiet, listen carefully, see if you can hear that ghost answer us today. By golly, folks, that ghost is doing a great job answering us today. I know there's always some skeptics on board that think that it's just an echo. No. Sorry to disappoint you. We know that's a ghost up there because you have to pay it $27.50 a day to sit up there and blow our whistle back at us. Makes that ghost the highest paid employee on the As 475 whistles for Carpenter's Crossing, we're making that ghost work a little extra today. And while we're on the topic of ghosts, coming up on the left-hand side, just after the crossing, you'll see a small hill, and on top of that hill, a little stone wall. That stone wall surrounds the oldest known cemetery in Lancaster County, and in it is buried a woman of historical significance. Her name is Marie Farid. She was a French Huguenot who fled France in the very early 1700s to escape religious persecution. She and her band of followers made their way here to Pennsylvania and were given a land grant for 2 square miles right here in 1712. It was Marie Farid and her followers who decided to call their colony Paradise. Remember, folks, 300 years ago, this was just the western edge of American frontier. Pennsylvania Dutch country. The fertile farmland of the Plain people, the Mennonites, the Dunkers, and the Amish. In a 20 square mile radius live approximately 74,000 of these people. Live a quiet, peaceful life of hard work and deep religious devotion, exactly as their forefathers did when they arrived from Germany, Switzerland, and portions of France nearly 300 years ago. Not much has changed really. Style of dress, mode of travel, nearly their entire way of life is almost the same today as it was about 3 centuries ago. Pulling our train through this beautiful Lancaster County countryside is engine number 475. Our engineer today is Ross and our fireman is Fred. They're working very, very hard up on that locomotive. Fred is doing most of the hard work though. He's the fireman that has to shovel all the coal, about 500 to 700 pounds to be exact, into the 1,000-degree firebox of 475, which pulls about 1,000 gallons of water from its center in order to create the steam we need to get us up and down the track. 475 is the oldest engine on our roster. It was built in 1906 by the Baldwin Locomotive Works out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Weighs in at 186 tons and originally ran on the Norfolk and Western Railroad in southwestern Virginia. Its tender carries 10 tons of coal and 10,000 gallons of water. Now, in just a few minutes, we're going to come to the end of our East Stratford line. And you're going to get to see engine number 475 roll right past your windows as it goes to the other end of our train and rolls back. But I'll give you a few more details when that comes up. Our tracks begin to curve sharply to the left. We'll come alongside the tracks that were once the Pennsylvania Railroad's main line from New York to Chicago. Lehman Place Junction at Paradise does have a lot of history to be told. It's the original route of the Philadelphia and Columbia Railroad, which ended up becoming part of the mighty Pennsylvania Railroad back in 1857. This was a very important stop along the Pennsy with more than 30 trains per day scheduled in 1898, and 4 mainline tracks remained here until 1961. Today, more than a dozen trains still pass through on a daily basis. They do so on the far 2 tracks where we will be coming to a stop at the station. You may be able to notice that those tracks look a little different than the ones that we're currently riding on. Those are Amtrak's high-speed electric main line connecting Philadelphia and Harrisburg, providing a vital transportation link for commuters and long-distance travelers alike. As I mentioned, about a dozen trains still come through here on a daily basis, but now they don't bother to slow down, let alone stop here anymore. Those trains, again, traveling on those tracks farthest from us at this time, carry speeds of anywhere from 80 to 105 miles per hour. Back in the earliest days of railroading, trains were not pulled by steam locomotives like ours is today, but they were actually pulled by horses. When that was the case, this area was a horse changing station. The lumber company you see standing today off to our running right, well, that used to be Henry Lehman's Hotel. He would supply fresh horses for the trains and cool refreshments for his passengers. Folks, let me be the first to welcome you to Paradise.